We are in the age of truth, freedom, love, prosperity, abundance, and peace. Welcome to True Uncompromised.
Y'all not American. Are y'all African, Venezuelan, or what? I'm Black Irish, okay?
Black Irish?
I'm a true blood. I'm a Black Irish and Indian.
I'm a Jewish Italian.
Turn it up here.
Black Irish?
I'm a true blood. I'm a Black Irish.
The records of Jamaica don't even show where white people were enslaving black people. Because based on the research, and we're sticking to Jamaica right now, those blacks on that island from Jamaica fall into two categories, three, and the third one is going to be a very slight maybe. But you have the indigenous original people of the island. You have the Black Irish that came to the island because they were exiled.
I'm Black Irish, okay?
Out of Europe.
I'm Black Irish, okay?
Black Irish?
I'm a true blood. I'm a Black Irish and Indian.
Okay? So they came over on prison sentences. So they were convicted with prison sentences and banned from returning back to Europe and giving the sentence of going to a prison penal colony, i.e. indentured servitude. That is the bulk of the slavery that occurred in Jamaica. They have records on it. The third category is so very, very slim, which would be the whole African slave trade thing. That's very, very slim. And the other category, my bad, I really have four, is when white people hit Jamaica. And they came at a later date, and they came over as indentured servants. And some of them too were kicked out and tried and sentenced to an exile to Jamaica. And some came over under missionary work as servants. And it's so cold with the story in Jamaica that they had to pass laws on the Jamaican books in order to let white people enter into Jamaica. And that was after black folks were already there. So how can white folks have enslaved people in Jamaica when they got to the island last? Okay, so this is about over in your side of the pond. This one was off of People, but I actually saw it early this morning on NBC. Kate Middleton and Prince William arrive in Jamaica amid protests and call for slavery reparations.
Yeah.
A movement to remove Queen Elizabeth as head of state of Jamaica is reportedly gaining traction.
Barbados already did that.
Yeah, exactly. Barbados already did it. After 3 days in Belize, Kate Middleton and Prince William arrived in Jamaica on Tuesday for the next leg of their Caribbean tour, which will conclude with a visit to the Bahamas on Thursday. The couple received a ceremonial welcome and were greeted by dignitaries upon their arrival. The Duchess of Cambridge changed mid-flight into, I don't give a damn about no dress that she changed into.
I know that's right.
Yeah, you gotta sell the story, Mom.
Yeah, you know.
You got an article to write.
Exactly. So as they touched down at Norman Manley International Airport, a protest calling for slavery reparations from the British monarch was taking place just miles away in Jamaica's capital city of Kingston. The demonstration outside the British High Commission was reportedly arranged by the Advocates Network, a human rights coalition of Jamaican activists and equalities organizations. The coalition has also written an open letter signed by major figures in Jamaica calling for the British monarchy to pay slave reparations as the country marks its 60th anniversary of independence from Great Britain. Kate and William's visit to Jamaica also comes amid reports that the Caribbean country is making moves to drop Queen Elizabeth as head of state.
We're all gonna do it.
Sources tell people that William and Kate are aware of the situation and the protests. Any decision about becoming a republic is for the people and the government of Jamaica, the sources point out. But William is expected to acknowledge the issue of slavery in his speech on Wednesday evening. Now, what I saw this morning, he literally did address that. And he was, giving an apology for slavery, this, that, and the third, and they also showed the Jamaican...
Thank you for coming, Internet. You know that we love you, but things have changed.
That shit is so ghetto to me. So what I saw this morning in his speech, he did make apologies for Britain's participation in slavery, and then they also showed a clip of Jamaica's leader, can't remember if they call him president or whatever, saying point blank period.
Prime Minister.
Yeah. Thank you, Prime Minister. The Prime Minister of Jamaica, point blank period, said, yeah, we do not want to be a part of the monarch at all. It's time. So that's literally the news clips I saw this morning. Now, I just want to remind the family the true history of what went on in Jamaica. So as I'm pulling up this vid, y'all can put something on it.
I was going to say, before you do that, what I recently came to knowledge is that even though these Caribbean islands are claiming their independency, in the background, they're actually signing a constitution with the WHO. Because I just learned that Trinidad and Tobago has signed the constitution of the WHO, meaning that whenever the WHO dishes out in their next pandemic, we don't have an independent right to say anything. We've lost our independency on that level now.
And that's the World Health Organization.
Right? Constitution.
Yeah.
So in behind, they're saying they're independent from the Queen, but in the background, they're actually signing a deal with the World Health Organization.
Because at the end of the day, it's still a one world government, and we showed that.
Right. So I just want,
Yeah, that's a great point. I just want to
sleight of hand. They're showing people.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the Black Irish from Jamaica and the slave trade from Jamaica. Okay, so let's see where we're at. Of the products. So today we are going to get into the slavery of Jamaica. So we're going to get into the Black Irish of Jamaica and slavery. So now I'm going to tell you something. Get ready. I know some of you, the source of material that I will use, the main source of material that I will use for this particular podcast, a lot of you are familiar with this book that comes across this information. This book is now, I'll have to try to search for it otherwise, but not sure if it's on back order, but I could not buy the book. I had to resort to other sources to get the book. Yeah. So nonetheless, I can understand why. Now, when I've seen people present information out of this book, let me speed up shit. Okay. Oh, Adobe gets on my last exposed nerve. But anyhow, sorry about that distraction. So even in the remotest sections of the bush and among the darkest of the Negroes who clearly trace their ancestry back to the earliest slave from Africa, they will find distinctively Irish names so common that it is an unguarded moment. They are apt to give flight to the imagination and claim that they have actually encountered a touch of the brogue. A few years ago, in one school in Kingston, might be found Burke. Okay, so getting into these surnames: Burke, Collins, McKee, McDermott, McKeenan, and just to shed some light on this, McKee, I think the last name Mack is a derivative of McKee and maybe even McKay. Okay, but anyhow, McKee, McDermott, McKeon, and Walsh. And with one exception, the last name, who was a dusky brown, they were, to all appearances, full-blooded Negroes. In a single classroom of another school, there were Collins, Kennedy, McCormick, and O'Hara. And here again, in only one case did the features or the complexions indicate any infusion of Caucasian blood. Although this one too was as black as the rest. Perhaps one of the names most frequently met with throughout the islands is that of Burke. In some few instances, it is true, the name itself may be a corruption of the Haitian refugees, de Bourg, who came to Jamaica in the 18th century at the time of the Haitian uprising. Okay, and we did a little drop on Haiti, kind of what was going on with that particular colonization. I'll put a link in this podcast to the Haitian drop. The usual explanation given for the presence of the Irish names is, of course, that the slaves of former days were generally called by their family name of the master. Okay, so those of us in the U.S., the main island, we know that story all too well, right? The European surnames that melanated, aka black folks, carry are the white slave masters. Okay. But yet those of us that do our genealogy, we're not finding any slave records for our ancestry. And in some cases, we are finding black European ancestry. But in the case of Burke, at least, we did not find a single planter of that name among the early records of Jamaica. Certainly, the survey of the year 1670 shows that at the time, not 1 acre of land was owned by anyone named Burke. Okay, so in other words, if these melanated / black Jamaicans with the last name Burke was taking on the surname of the white slave masters, how come they can't find any planters with that last name? And the same may be said in the case of most of the other Irish names we encounter today among the Negroes of the island. The purpose, then, of the present writer is to find a solution to the riddle. Whence the Black Irish of Jamaica? And the answer, briefly summarized, lends itself to a threefold division. From Ireland through Barbados to Jamaica. Okay, so I just wanted, and again, you can find that drop on the website on YouTube. I'll drop it in the chat, where we literally went through and told you the true story of the quote slave trade of Jamaica. And it got so deep, they even told you specifically when white people hit the island of Jamaica. And it was at a later date than the original Black Irish coming over to Jamaica. Okay, so the title of this particular podcast is The Black Irish from Jamaica and the Slave Trade. So I'll drop that link in the chat, but my purpose for bringing that up, because you have folks over here in the States talking about, oh, child, Whitehead, see, that wasn't nothing but the spirit. I ain't mean to bring her ass up. I promise. I promise I didn't, family. I promise I didn't mean to bring her ass up. I was trying to get back to my little original picture. But you have folks over in the States having these conversations about reparations, and I keep telling you that, do you know what you're asking for? Can you prove what you're asking for? Can you prove that your ancestors were slaves via Africa? Because based on the research, and we're sticking to Jamaica right now, those blacks on that island from Jamaica fall into two categories, three, and the third one is going to be a very slight maybe. But you have the indigenous original people of the island. You have the Black Irish that came to the island because they were exiled.
I'm Black Irish, okay?
Because they were exiled.
Y'all not American. Are y'all African, Venezuelan, or what? I'm Black Irish, okay?
Black Irish?
I'm a true blood. I'm a Black Irish and Indian.
I'm a Jewish Italian.
Turn it up here.
Black Irish?
I'm a true blood. I'm a Black Irish and
out of Europe. Okay? So they came over on prison sentences. So they were convicted with prison sentences and banned from returning back to Europe and giving the sentence of going to a prison penal colony, i.e. indentured servitude. That is the bulk of the slavery that occurred in Jamaica. They have records on it. The third category is so very, very slim, which would be the whole African slave trade thing. That's
y'all not American. Are y'all African, Venezuelan, or what?
Very, very slim. And the other category, my bad, I really have four, is when white people hit Jamaica. And they came at a later date. And they came over as indentured servants.
I'm a Jewish Italian.
And some of them, too, were kicked out and tried and sentenced to an exile to Jamaica. And some came over under missionary work as servants.
I'm a Jewish Italian.
And it's so cold with the story in Jamaica that they had to pass laws on the Jamaican books in order to let white people enter into Jamaica. And that was after black folks were already there. So how can white folks have enslaved people in Jamaica when they got to the island last?
I'm Black Irish, okay?
Black Irish?
Okay? So this whole talk, what they're talking about reparations, okay, so who's really getting these reparations? Based on what? This is why it is important for you to do your research. Literally, when I saw that and them having a conversation about the quote reparations and they want to break away from Britain, this, that, and the third, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's all fine and dandy. but this is how the story actually happened. And it ain't nothing I'm making up. That's out of Jamaica's and them records. They documented pretty carefully what happened. Okay? So I just wanted to bring that to the family. It is no accident that they're starting to have these particular Caribbean islands, because at the end of the day, those Caribbean islands are a part of the Americas. They're starting to have these conversations about these islands breaking away from the European monarch. And then this conversation of reparations comes into play. That's why you need to know who you are. Now, I don't care whether or not you want to file a claim. That's your business. I have no fucks to give on that part. I am telling you to get into your genealogy, because I would think you would want to know for you where your family sits in the story. Okay? That's the purpose of me talking about your genealogy. Because I see the okie doke that they're trying to set up for Jamaica. Oh, well, we just gonna say we're gonna give people reparations because you're from Africa. So the populace that don't know that they're either indigenous to the Jamaican island, or they're a combination of both. Their people are indigenous to the Jamaican island and they're European. So you sitting up here signing a deal with them saying you from Africa, and you done fucked your connection off of both lands. Because you were originally from Ireland, your folks got kicked out of there, came over here, and your people married into the indigenous culture. So that makes that bloodline going forward indigenous to the land, plus indigenous to Europe. But you didn't just cut a deal saying you're from Africa. But yet you have no records showing that. Even literally the records of Jamaica don't show that. The records of Jamaica don't even show where white people were enslaving black people.
Yeah. What's really good today? What's good? I got love to give. In Southwest Ontario, talking to this ashy gal. Right.
I'm Black Irish, okay?
Black Irish?
I'm a true blood. I'm a Black Irish and Indian.
Black Irish?
I'm a true blood. I'm a Black Irish and Indian.